Hey everybody, I'm back today with a video. I'm talking about a 3-inch homemade dredge that I've built. This is my first video about this, and what I'm going to cover is the construction techniques that I used in it, some of the materials. Then we're going to put it in the water, figure out the balance points of everything, get everything locked in place, start running some gravel through it, and see how she performs. Alright, starting out, talk about the frame. I used 1-inch square aluminum tubing, and it's been welded. You can see I've got runners that were designed to hold these barrels for the flotation. Now the barrels, these are 15-gallon industrial drums. You can get these in a lot of places. Just about every town that has a dry cleaners or car wash, they all get their chemicals and their soap and everything in these same kind of barrels. So you can probably pick them up free, and if not free, you can probably get them darn cheap, and you won't have to pay any shipping for them. The engine mount is a frame I built up out of 1-inch perf pipe. Now everything on the dredge right now is it's held together with clamps and bolts, and after I figure out exactly where everything needs to be, then everything's going to be welded and bolted down, so it'll be a lot cleaner. This is about a 99% version, what you see here. But we've got the a 3-inch standoff from the base that gives me enough room for my flare, so that it's not interfering with that if I need to move it forward or backward. I went with a hanger similar to the Keen style for the jet tube, and right now there's bolts holding this in place. Eventually this is going to be welded, and so this will slide in and out, and it'll be held in place by cotter pins, and then there's cotter pins that will hold the sling in place. On the for the sluice box right now, it's just sitting basically on a cradle. There's the front, just to give the front support. The back, I built a system similar to Keen's also. Keen's what I'm used to. The back of the sluice box will fit over these cotter keys, and it's got a hole that will slide over that, and then it'll be locked in place so that that box can't slide forward or backward. Like I say, once I figure out exactly where it's going to be, this will be drilled through here instead of just hanging off a clamp. Yeah, see, this is why I just have bolts on everything right now instead of welding. I need to adjust the spacing on that, because right now the motor frame is wanting to sit on top of those bolts that are holding that extension on. But the engine is pretty standard for a 3 or 4-inch dredge. It's probably a little overkill for a 3-inch. It's a Honda GX200 motor with a Keen P180 pump. Now this is the motor system off my dredge. The motor that's going to be on here will not have the air system. It's just the motor and the pump, but it's got the same pump and the same motor. 2.5 inlet and 2-inch output, pushing 300 gallons a minute and about 180 psi. No, wait, that's backwards. 180 feet of head, about 90 psi. Okay, and here's the part everybody wants to know about. Everybody wants to know how everybody else builds and sets up their sluice system. Alright, the box is just a standard bent box, bent aluminum box. Got this from South Yuba Mining. He does a really good job. This one is a little different in its size from what he generally offers, but he didn't have a problem custom making this for me. My initial concept when I started this project 2 years ago was to build it as cheap as possible and everything was going to be used or cheaply available. The problem is there's not a whole lot of used parts around, especially here in Oklahoma. So the flare is a standard commercial Keen 3-inch flare. And it's going to be mated to a standard Keen 3-inch jet log. Now, as far as recovery system is concerned, if you look down the bottom, you can see that I've got a 1-inch spacer. I wanted to lift that outflow up just a little bit for my underflow sluice. Alright, now the design of this catch system is a over and under with a double classification system at the head of it. The base of it is deep as a deep V matting that runs the entire length. And on top of that is a 1/2 inch expanded. The spacers that I use between the upper and lower system is just some standard 1/2 inch aluminum angle channel. And in the head section I use 3 pieces, and I'll show you why. The under system is being fed. This is a 1/8 classification screen. This is woven wire, and I built that frame around it to give it support. The woven wire, even though that's some fairly thick metal, it still has a lot of flex into it just because of what it is. So it's got this U-channel frame around it. but even then it wants to sag in the middle, so use that middle piece to help keep that flat. And as you can see, that puts the top of my underflow classification right at the base. Then for the lower half, and I've got, this is a piece of aluminum plate that sits on top of those angles, and on top of that is more deep V with the miner's moss on top. Now on top of the moss, need a larger catch system for any oversized stuff, just in case I happen to get into a place where there's any pickers, larger gold, anything like that. So for that I'm using, it's 4-pound expanded. Got this wonderful ugly piece out of the scrapyard, but for a couple bucks it'll work for my test. Then the top classification is 1/4-inch woven wire, and I've got the standoffs. Now you have, there's a double classification to an over-under. Now, like I say, everything is still in test phase right now. There's probably still going to be more changes to be made. I'm probably going to cut that 4-pound expanded in half. I don't think I need near that much. Maybe not in half, but I think it definitely needs to be cut down. And of course, you can't forget, you need a good damper to help knock everything down. All that floating gold that wants to stay up on top, you gotta get that knocked down. And there you have my homemade 3-inch dredge. Now it's time to go put it in the water, see how she acts.